Big Sills! First day of training camp. For some of you, that's a good thing. I posted a couple pictures of me on my Twitter page, my first day in camp, in an NFL camp. My aunt was there. And on my Twitter page, 3-a-days with Ray Perkins at Pepin Root Stadium in Tampa. I'll tell you, I don't know how we did it when we were younger. Maybe it's because we were younger. But 98 humidity, 98 temperature. I'm so glad today's players don't have to go through that crap. Those things were torture. I mean, it was boot camp every year. Torture. Some places made you do the 12-minute run. You had to do get this. You want to hear the kind of shape that Big Sills was in? I ran 1.5 miles in 12 minutes. That was our test in Tampa. Our test in Dallas with Jimmy Johnson and at the University of Miami was 16 110s, and you had to make them in 19 seconds with 19-second breaks. I mean, I think I made the 110s once. Believe it or not, I did it in Dallas, Jimmy's first year. Incredible. And I think the only reason I made it was because it was in Thousand Oaks and not in Florida. Dude, those training camps back in the day, I'm so happy for the players that today they don't have to go through the overtraining. It was overtraining back in the day. You overdid it. And it's great to see that the NFL has some common sense. My God almighty, is there breaking news everywhere. Mike Missinelli will join us, by the way, at 4:30 Eastern time. We're going to get to the topics here in a second. And we said we were going to do something yesterday. We're going to do this today. But so let me get this right about Saquon Barkley. Oh, by the way, did you hear the news? As expected. And remember I told you? The New York Giants, once they put the franchise tag on him, we're trying to trade him. They had floated Saquon. How important, again, is Saquon Barkley to the New York Giants in their eyes? Don't ever come on this program and tell me that Barkley is important to the Giants. Because as soon as they put the tag on him, they were shopping him. That doesn't sound like somebody who is in the plans of the future of the New York Giants. And did you see those incentives for him to be able to get $900,000? You're telling me you did all this bullshit for $900,000. Dude, this was a useless. Saquon Barkley got his ass kicked. Got their ass kicked, their team. Ace, Big Sills. I know you're an Islander fan. Do you think the offsides call was legal? Oh, already? Take me off my game here, Ace. Can you believe it? The New York Giants don't look at Saquon Barkley as a valuable piece. By the way, those incentives. Hey, Tone, do you see those incentives? He's never at one time in his career hit any one of those numbers. So we're under the belief usually when you put incentives in a guy's contract, you're trying to put incentives in there where a guy is going to hit incentives that he normally hits. These are career incentives for an extra $900,000. For an extra $900,000. And one more time, I'll say this to you. Dude, you should be bitching at your union rep, not the NFL owners. This is your union failing you. The National Football League owners have devalued you. They basically looked at that CBA and went, we're not paying that number. And by the way, I happen to think that the franchise tag is fascist, communistic. It's anti-American. Can you imagine telling an NFL owner, Hey, guess what? You have to sell your team for this number. Try doing that to Bob Kraft or Jerry Jones or Jeffrey Lurie. Hey, you can't sell. You prohibit the player from maximizing his potential. Don't you guys see that's where the gambling restrictions, you guys keep doing the dumbest thing on the planet when you talk about these players that are getting suspended. The NFL doesn't give a shit about integrity. They care about protecting their wallets. It's another revenue stream for the players to be able to use the league to make money. The owners don't like you using their badge. It's their business. They don't want you using their logo. That's what this comes down to. Saquon Barkley did all this for tip money. This is like, to an NFL owner, $900,000 is like tip money. It's like paying a tip at a restaurant. This is a nothing burger to them. Holy cow, man. Yeah, JM, the optics is what the league is enforcing the players in gambling with. It's not the reality. They don't want them making money on another revenue stream that they haven't maximized yet. And they really haven't figured it out. This has got nothing to do with the integrity of the game. Integrity. Look at what they just did to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley opens his heart to John Marin, tells him what it's like to be a Giant and how important it is for him to be a Giant. You know what he does? He shakes his head and lies to him. Yeah. Then they tag him and try to trade him. Don't ever tell anybody how you really feel unless you really know that guy. Okay? Unless you're in, the only way you can be honest with somebody is if you're helping someone build someone and you're in the beginning stages of it. You think John Mayer needs to hear from Saquon Barkley? How many times has he heard from Giant guys in the past and how important it is for them to be Giants like that? Dude, they use that shit against you every day. You're just a widget, dude. Whether Saquon Barkley's on the Giants or not, the Giants are going to make monster money. It just shows you they don't give a shit about winning. They care about winning at the cash register. They treat NFL fans like wrestling fans because you consume it like a wrestling fan. You buy into all that bullshit. It's crazy. You buy into all of that. And so do the players. Because you know why? You got to play the game with passion. It's a shame. Great for the Eagles. Great for the Cowboys. Oh, they're going through their own thing with Zach Martin now. Don't ever trust those guys. They do not have the players' best interest. They have never, and nor will they ever, have the players' best interest. And then what they do is they make fans take a shit on players because players want money. Hey, by the way, Saquon Barkley, congratulations. You ended up getting $900,000. The guy in Boston got $7 billion. Mines will have been. And he's not even one of the top 20 players in the game. I told you this yesterday. The most popular sport is the worst paying sport. Do you ever think of that? Basketball players make the most. Then baseball. Then shit hockey guys make because it's guaranteed too. The most popular sport is the most underpaid sport when it comes to the rest of the North American sports leagues. Did you ever think of that? Why? Because the owners don't give you guaranteed contracts. They hold you at bay. They can franchise tag you with these fascist franchise tags. It's so un-American. So you're telling Saquon Barkley, you can't maximize your ability to make money. Jesus, really? No matter how well you do, that's communism. You make this number. That's it. No more, no less. Now, it affects a few guys every year because the tag's not used all the time. But when they implemented this tag in 93, I said it. This is un-American. I've been saying it for decades. It's un-American. The salary cap in many ways is un-American. You can't pay a player what he's worth because why? Mike Brown doesn't want to pay him? Shit, when the calendar turns every year, Mike Brown's value of his team goes up the same way the Dallas Cowboys' value goes up. Now you got set contracts for rookies. This is what you'll make. Here's an extension or not. Boy, what control they have over the players. And it was displayed with Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Saquon Barkley. By the way, Saquon Barkley will never hit any one of those incentives. You know why? He's been banged up. He's got no shot of hitting those incentives. I think the most yards he's ever had were a little bit over 1,300 yards. They got this bad puppy at like 1,350. They'll never pay him. And my opinion, they'll trade him in the offseason. Or how about this? If the Giants are having a bad season, could you see? How about this one? When the trading deadline comes halfway through the season, could you see the New York Giants moving him if the Giants aren't in contention? I can. They tried moving him now. Holy cow. Watch this. Hey, man, it really means, I'm being Barkley, it really means a lot for me to be a New York Giant. It means an awful lot. I love the Giants. John Mayer shaking his head. Walks out of the room. The franchise tagged him. The general manager is trying to trade him 20 minutes after the meeting. Loyalty? What loyalty? What loyalty? That's why when you find a franchise like the Eagles, and they're somewhat upfront with you, and they are, that's why everybody's bitching. Do you notice? Gardner Johnson got more money. He's still bitching at Philly. No matter all these guys, Miles Sanders didn't use me right. Dude, you got one of the greatest deals in the offseason for anybody, let alone a running back. Who gives a shit what your days were in Philly? You're making $21 million over 3 years now. It's because the Eagles have a great culture, man. $900K, this was all over. Whew. By the way, I think the Giants handled this great. 100%. This ain't the National Football League's responsibility for you not getting your money you want. This is you and your agent and the union. That's their problem. This is a union problem. You don't have a strong human union to fight for your players. You think you're going to pull that bullshit in the NBA? Shit, you got one of the top 25 players. Watch this. Brown is probably what? The second best guy on that team? He's now the highest and richest guy in NBA history. You don't pull that shit on NBA guys. You do that in the NFL. You're going to make this. They tell you what you're going to make. In the NBA, the players tell you what they're going to make. There's the difference in the business relationship. The NBA showed you today who's boss. The players in the NBA dictate salary. Shit, hey, just think about this in Philly, right, Tone? You got a washed up fat ass in James Harden using the league and the Sixers for $32 million for a guy that's past his prime. That's clout. That's clout. Nobody around. Get this. And here's the shitty thing about it for the Sixers. If they can't make that move with the Clippers, well, I'll sign for $32 million in Philly. Great. Barb goes, no one watches the NBA. Well, they sure pay him. And the fans in the NFL go, that guy's greedy. Greedy? No, you got the wrong guys that are greedy. You got the wrong guys, the owners, man. They use you. That's propaganda to keep the players down. Trayvon Diggs just got a $97 million contract from the Cowboys for 5 years. Yeah, what's the signing bonus? Hey, Weapon, what's the signing bonus? That $97 million? Let me know what the bonus is. Then I'll tell you what the contract is. And I guarantee you he don't live up to that contract because you know why? They'll fire him. How many times do you see guys live up and fill contracts? How many times do you think you see NFL players get 5-year deals and they actually fulfill those 5-year deals? How many times do you see that? None? 2? 3? Carr didn't finish his deal. I could give you numerous examples of that. Crazy. Okay? Hey, by the way, before we get going, got to send some love to Bronny James, man. Every father and every parent's nightmare is waking up or getting a phone call that says, hey, my kid had a heart attack. I guess he was working out with USC on Monday, and he went into cardiac arrest. Whew. You see the idiots on Twitter, and you see what they're saying, and you see people in social media. Dude, this is being a dad and mom. Savannah and LeBron are mother and father. That's their kid. Sports, politics, BS has nothing to do with this. This is about being a dad and a mom and worrying about your son. Let's keep it in that realm. That's where it belongs. His dad's concerned about him. His mom is probably petrified. Man, some people are cruel in that aspect. Man, I'm not thinking about anything else other than LeBron James as a father and Savannah, his wife, as a mother. And I think everyone else should. I don't usually like to tell you what to think, but if you're not thinking anything other than that, there's something innate wrong with you. This guy's a dad now. He's been a dad, and he's been a great dad. He's been a great role model for the NBA. He's been a great signature face for the league. I may not like him, but you have to respect him. Come on, man. People are just stupid. They are. Obviously, today the Eagles show up to training camp. It starts. And the quest to get back to the NFC Championship game has got to be front and center. First and foremost, you want to win the NFC East, okay? The number one objective is to win the NFC East because that puts you in play for home field advantage, okay? Without a doubt, has to be the number one priority. Win that East. Break the hex from 04. Become the first team to go back-to-back in winning the NFC East. Doesn't it show you also, no matter how much success the Philadelphia Eagles have had since 2000, since 2004, nobody in the division has been able to duplicate division championships. Let alone, hey, how about this? Let alone get back to the Super Bowl. Nobody in that division has been able to win back-to-back NFC East. And you're telling me you think you're going back to the Super Bowl when for the last 20 years, you haven't even won back-to-back NFC titles. And I'm not picking on just the Eagles here. I'm showing you how difficult it is to do what really Andy Reid did back in the day when he went and won all those division titles and got to the NFC Championship game. Okay? It's a difficult task. I saw Selke write in the Inquirer, he doesn't even think they're getting back to the NFC title game. Could be right. It's going to be quite a journey. This journey is going to find this team. And I'll say this to you. The 2023 season is not just going to define Jalen Hurts. It's going to define the next 5 years of the Eagles. Where are you? Because if you flop, you're not playing shit teams this year. You're playing great teams, great quarterbacks, great defenses, teams that are coached well. There's no off week. Shit, last week you went through maybe a month and a half at times, and you had no competition. That's not happening here. You can't sustain any injury at many of the key positions. You don't have anybody to cover tight ends right now. We talked about this yesterday. Your defensive tackles, are they going to be able to stop the run? They haven't in 2 years. 2 years you haven't stopped the run. You did it enough last year because you got home with the quarterback and sacking him. Okay? Epps, hey, would we not agree? I don't know about you, Tone. Would we not agree that TJ Edwards and Marcus Epps were two of the most underrated players on the Eagles last year? Would we not at least have that argument and conversation that Edwards and Epps were the most underappreciated players on that Eagle team a year ago? Okay? 160 tackles and 91 tackles. Hey, look at Jay. Jay goes, that's a joke? Really? 91 tackles. You think you got a safety back there that's going to make 91 tackles? Who? You got a linebacker that you think's going to make 160 tackles and set your fronts? Who? Going to be interesting. Going to be interesting, to say the least. Reed Blankenship, you think is going to replace Epps? Never happen. Never happen. Never happen. Okay? I'm the name. I'm not going anywhere near bust with Nakobe. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. Everybody that is a Philadelphia Eagle fan thinks that you're just going to plug and play Nakobe Dean and he's going to have 160 tackles like TJ Edwards did. I do not believe that. I do not. By the way, we said we were going to do this. I got some goals, individual goals that we're going to get to for Eagle players. The Big Sills Eagle goals for 2023. We're going to do that here in a minute. Mike goes like Diggs' contract is not going to last. Signing bonus, $21 million. You see what that guy said? The guy goes like this. He signed a $97 million contract. No, he didn't. He signed a $21 million contract. No, he didn't. That $97 million, dude, $70 million of it is non-guaranteed. Signed a $21 million deal over 5 years. That's the deal. He signed a $97 million deal. Oh, yeah, in Monopoly. $97 million deal. Once again, the league likes to send those numbers out to make their players look like they're making a king's ransom, when in fact, they're not, compared to the other guys. Whatever. I'm here to educate you guys. It's what I do. All right. Before I get to my expectations for some of the key players on the Philadelphia Eagles heading into training camp and into the 2023 season, I want you to understand one thing. I am not going to do what the New York Giants did. I'm not going to set these lofty goals to where you have to have career years. Okay? I'm not going to do things that you're not going to have a chance to obtain. The Giants made Saquon Barkley jump through a hoop for things he's never done. Never. In his career in New York. We're going to get to that. First and foremost. Before I get there, as camp starts, who's the most intriguing Eagle to watch this preseason and 2023 season? Who will be the most intriguing player to you to go through this journey this year? What player? Who will be that player? For you. JM says Dean, Loki, Carter, Dean. Cam Jurgens, nice, Max. Max, nice. Dean, I'm going to be watching him like a hawk. Hopefully, they trade Boza. They'll never trade Boza. Hassan Reddick, Carter, Dean and Swift. Kayvon, I love that. I'm with you guys. If Nakobe Dean, after the first 4 games, is not cutting it, we'll know immediately. We may even know after week 1. And then how long do you go before you make the move where you try to trade for something or find something? You know, they may not be prepared for this because they have no depth at that position. When they put TJ Edwards in, it changed the entire defense. You don't have options here. You better not miss on him. There's more riding on him than Jordan Davis because you have depth at D-tackle with Milton Williams and with Jalen Carter and the kid you got from the Saints, actually. So you could kind of hold the fort down. Maybe if you have to call Sue or Linville Joseph, bring him back again. I don't have a problem with that. I actually hope they do that. You don't have that kind of depth. Or you're going to have to give something up to get a quality linebacker in there because they're not just walking the streets right now. Now that Diggs has that money, what are the odds they restructure Zach Martin now? Obviously, Zach Martin's not in Oxnard with the Cowboys. We'll get into that here in a minute. Will they restructure? Since when does Jerry Jones restructure and move money around? What do you think? He's the Cincinnati Bengals? This guy pays money, and he does things, and he'll do whatever to get these guys signed. I think he's looking at Zach Martin like this. He's 32, 33 years old. He's in that middle of the room now. You're really going to give him max money at offensive guard when we're talking about 2-3 years left maybe as a career? Jerry's going to try to, undercut him here. And by the way, do you really think he's going to go from $7 million to $20 million? You think Zach Martin's going to go from $7 million to where some of the high-priced guards are now in the league at 18 to 20? No way. No way. He's been sorely underpaid. Jerry likes his Christmas balls and not the tree. That's why they don't win. They don't invest in the right guys. They don't invest in the right guys. They'd rather overpay for Jalen Smith or some of these other stiffs that they've had, Randy Gregory and whomever, and not pay the guy who's one of your best offensive. Zach Martin goes down as one of the best offensive linemen in Cowboy history. Jerry doesn't see that, though. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm looking at Nakobe Dean as the most intriguing player in 2023. Nakobe Dean has the green dot on his helmet. Big Sills has the bullseye on his helmet. I'll be watching him every game. False steps, lining guys up right. Hey, by the way, I'm not even going to talk about his play first. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Lining guys up right, knowing formations, filling gaps, making tackles, and covering tight ends and backs out of the backfield. All that is on his plate. You guys talk to me like he's Oppenheimer. Oh, this guy here, he's a molecular engineer guy and he's smart as shit. I don't care. I've seen the dumbest guys on the planet go out there and look like savants. And I've seen some of the smartest people on the planet get out there on a football field and their heads on a swivel. We'll see. I don't believe it. I don't believe, because you haven't even worked him into it yet. That's why I said this. I don't know, maybe push Morrow into the mic and have him on the Sam side or on the Will side and let him at least get used to playing and starting. No, they're going to put him at the mic right away. Okay. He better be ready. Dude, you have to be ready immediately. You're playing against Belichick. You don't have a coach on your coaching staff in his league. There is not a coach on the Stoutland is the only coach that's in that building that could work for Bill Belichick. And of course, Patricia. The rest of them are in diapers. They're in diapers. Well, Bill hasn't really had a really good 4 years. No, but he's had a great 35 years. It's crazy. This guy goes on the greatest run in NFL history, developing all types of players not drafted. By the way, you've drafted more first-round players, more people in the last 25 years on your offense in the first, second, and third rounds than Bill Belichick ever did. He gets undrafted free agents, fourth rounders, seventh rounders, sixth rounders, and wins Super Bowls with them. You've got one in 30 years. He's got 6 in 25. Who under or overachieved? Well, it was Brady. Well, isn't it great? And really, do you think it's kind of weird that Bill Belichick coached the greatest defensive player in the history of the sport and the greatest offensive player in the history of the sport? Huh. Interesting. And not one of them was the first pick in the draft. You can throw all the shade you want on Bill. He's got the rings to punch you in the face with them. You got one. He's got 8. 2 more covers his hands. Can you think of, hey, so wait a minute now. He got 9 AFC championship rings. Well, actually 10, because he was with Parcells when they got beat by the Packers. He's got 2 more NFC title rings. So it's 12 conference championship rings and 8 Super Bowls. Yeah, you're right. He sucks. Sure. Belichick was not a quarterback whisperer. Forte couldn't be more wrong. So you draft Matt Castle. He takes your Patriots to an 11-5 season. They trade him to the Chiefs, and he wins a division title. Not bad for a guy that never started. Get this, hey, Tone. You know that guy, Matt Castle, who won 11-5 when Brady got hurt? And then they traded him to Kansas City, and he won the division title. You know he never started it down at USC? He played behind Carson Palmer and Matt Leinart. He never started. Belichick drafted him in the late rounds. Okay? Probably coincidence. Brady was looked at by Lloyd Carr as a piece of shit in Michigan. Nobody thought anything of a guy who runs a 5'9". Goes on to win 6 Super Bowls. Huh. It's got to be coincidence. Jimmy Garoppolo, he drafts. Nobody thought anything of Jimmy Garoppolo. Goes 4-1 in New England. Trades him to San Francisco, and he wins a division title and an NFC championship. Probably coincidence. Finds Jacoby Brissett. Nah, he can't be anybody. Starts in Indianapolis and in Miami, and will probably start in Washington. This is all coincidence. Not one of those guys were drafted in the first round. You're right. He doesn't know anything about quarterbacks. How can you make statements like that when the work shows he does? Okay? Yeah. Forte's one of those idiots that believes that Spygate had anything to do with anything. It's called gamesmanship. I love it. It's funny when they find him, they still went on and won 3 more Super Bowls. So what effect did it have? What effect did it have? Well, Deflategate. I learned more about PSI and deflated balls more in sports talk radio over the last couple of years than I did when I was a kid. Went on to win 2 more Super Bowls. You're right. Deflategate. Oh, I'm sure that played a factor. I love that shit. Very Raiderous. What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? Are they doing something cheating? Are they cheating? Are they putting the sprinklers on? Wait a minute. Our side, we can't hear anything in our earpieces. How come we can't hear? They've got to be spying on us. That's the best thing on the planet. You've already got opposing teams already thinking about stupid shit. It's wonderful. That's called gamesmanship. I totally dig it. I'm a gigantic fan of that. Love it. All right. Let's move on. I do this every year. Here are the Big Sil's expectations and personal goals for players that have to have great years for the Eagles to win the NFC this year. We should start it with Jalen. Jalen Hurts comes off a great season. Comes off a year where his improvement was remarkable. From where he was his first year starting, which was not very good, it was a tad above average. He was the caboose. And that team, his first year he started, carried him to the playoffs. And once he got into the playoffs, a horrible display against the Tampa Bay Bucks. It was terrible. You had an announcer and Troy Aikman screaming at him, dude, just throw the ball out to the left. Just throw it. He couldn't find him. To where there were moments last year where he was sensational. Absolutely. Here are my expectations for Jalen Hurts in 2023. 3,800 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, passes, 66 quarterback percentage, 6 INTs. In the rushing game, 165 carries, 750, and 8 touchdowns. Those are all doable. And if he does that, the team will be in contention once again for the NFC title. The key, do you know what the key stat is? There's 2 for Jalen Hurts this coming year. You know what they are? Completion percentage and interceptions. Not touchdown passes, not yards, not attempts, not completions. Completion percentage and INTs, protecting the football. And probably something on here that's not a stat. Don't get hurt. Okay? Ben goes, you're crazy? Why? This is who he is. See, Ben thinks this guy's going to throw for 5,000 yards. That's absolutely insane. He's not. He's not a passing quarterback. He is a dual threat. This is just as intimidating as 5,000 passing yards. Why don't you people see that? Do you understand? That's like 33 touchdowns and 4,500 yards of total offense. How are you not looking at it that way? That's a threat. That's a threat. He's not one-dimensional because he can't be. Jalen Hurts is never going to win in this league just as this pure drop-back guy. You understand that, right? I don't know why some of you have a problem swallowing that. He's not that guy. That's okay. He is just as much a threat with those numbers as Patrick Mahomes is with 5,000 passing yards and 40 touchdowns. Okay? Name goes, I hate Jalen. I hate no one. I don't give a shit about that. I don't hate anybody. I don't know him. You're one of those guys that go on the internet, huh, dude? Right, Name? You're the one guys that go on the internet, and because you think you know me, you say shit like that. Interesting. I don't do that. Okay? I do not do that. If I don't know you, I don't hate you. Okay? So, what do you make of that? 3,800, 25, 66, 6 INTs, 165, 750 yards rushing. That's a threat. And by the way, those numbers to me are scary. Those are scary. All right. Here are my expectations for A.J. Brown. 90 catches, 1,200 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Is that fair? Better be. He's making $25 million. He better put those numbers up. Because if he doesn't, he underachieves. You need at $25 million to put those numbers up. And to be a little north of those numbers. And let's remember something. Last year was a career year. Is he going to duplicate that again? I don't know. We'll see. If Jalen continues to do what he's doing and puts those numbers up, I probably think he's still in the room. Guys, you don't want to set expectations for some of these guys. Like see, I got this idea from what the Giants did. The Giants put these expectations for Saquon Barkley. He'll never hit. He'll never hit. Here is my expectations for Devontae Smith. I think he becomes the very first player in Philadelphia Eagle history as a wide receiver to catch 100 passes. I think he catches 100. I think he goes for 1,200 and 10 touchdowns. That's quite a year. 100 catches, 1,200 and 10. Dude, I don't know about you, but to me, you got two receivers over 1,200 or around 1,200 yards and 190 catches between both. Your wide receiving core did the same thing it did a year ago. Okay? Dallas Goedert. I think those numbers are very realistic. Right. See, Tone? That's what we're trying to accomplish here. Don't do what the Giants are doing to Barkley. Those numbers are not realistic to him. It's so embarrassing and so disrespectful that I am not going to do that to the Eagle guys as we get ready for camp. Today, they report and get ready for the start of the preseason and then the regular season. I am not going to be unfair to any one of these guys. Do I think Hurts could go over 38? I do. Do I think that AJ could go over 12? I do. Do I think Devontae could go over 1,200? I do. But I'm going to set reasonable expectations for the guys. And expectations that I think fit their skill set right now and who they are. And if they happen to overachieve, congratulations to you. And by the way, you shouldn't be moving the bar 10 feet. You should be moving it 1 foot at a time. Let Jalen Hurts grow into being Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't born in one day. He was born over 20 years. All of you guys out there were calling Peyton Manning the better quarterback. In the end, it never happened, and it was never true. Brady did more with less than what Manning ever did. Manning had the best of everything. Wide receivers, running back, O-line, everything. Tom Moore, OC. Same O-line for a decade. They gave him everything, and he still won one. My boy Tone would say that's underachieving. Tight end too, that's right. Dallas Clark. That's right, Dallas Clark. Guy had everything. Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark, Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk. Had everything. Brady was better. With undrafted people and one of the greatest, if not the greatest, head coach of all time. The Eagles don't need Hurts to throw for $4,000. They don't. They need that low turnover ratio again. I don't get why people are so hell-bent on him doing that. It's not important. You know what it is for me? Tone. It's a great way to hit someone in the ribs and jab him and make him not look as good. But, dude, he's more of a threat. He's just as much of a threat with those numbers that I gave you as Mahomes is with 5,400 yards. Hey, by the way, haven't you seen the way he plays when he plays against Mahomes? It's two different dudes. It's two different guys. Can I tell you where I think the edge is? I think the edge is in coaching. I personally think the edge is in coaching. I don't think your coordinators or your head coach is in Andy Reid's league. But who is? So you got the best talent at quarterback in Kansas City, and you got the best play-calling head coach in the sport. Him and McVay. I like McVay with the Rams. Don't you think that was the difference in the Super Bowl, especially in the second half? When your guys were running into each other like they were weebles. Again, fans only think like this so they can win pointless debates. Not only that, too, you got to remember something, Tone. Do you know what's changed the narrative with people? Fantasy football. You think because Jalen doesn't throw for 4,000 yards and some of those high touchdown numbers that Josh Allen or some of these other guys do. Because, again, you look at those other guys, they're fantasy dreams. Not that Jalen's not. Okay? Yeah. Ben goes, golf was the difference. Imagine that. Jared Goff and Sean McVay got to a Super Bowl, almost won it. What does he do? He moves them, gets Stafford in, and wins it. I don't know. You think Nick Sirianni's in the same conversation as Sean McVay? Highly unlikely. He's 38 years old, and he's got 2 conference title rings and a Super Bowl championship. not in a room. Nick Sirianni, Sean McVay, not close. Dallas Goedert. Here are my goals for him. 75 catches, 900 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So if you look at it, 90 catches and 1,210 touchdowns for AJ. Devontae Smith, 100 catches, 1,210. Dallas Goedert, 75 catches, 900 yards, and 8 TDs. That's a hell of a passing game. That's a hell of a passing game. Okay? Running back. I'm only going to do one because I think there's only one that's worth the shit talking about. And that's DeAndre Smith. That's the running back, DeAndre Swift. Seriously, I'm not wasting my time on the rest of that shit that you have in your backfield. I'm talking about one guy. That's DeAndre Swift. 185 carries, 900 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, 50 catches, 450 and receiving yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. In my opinion, that'll put him in the Pro Bowl if he does that. 900 yards and 6 touchdowns. I'd like to see him around the 185 number because that helps Jalen. I'd like to see 50 catches. Put him in the slot. See what he does. 450 in receiving yards. Can I tell you what that would look like? A 2.0 version, not as good, of Brian Westbrook. Wide receiver, Quez Watkins. My expectations. 40 catches. 500 yards. And 4 TDs. Let me say this to you. If Quez Watkins puts those numbers up and the other guys play like I think they can, Quez Watkins will be one of the most feared threats in the league. Here's why. So your number 3 is catching 40 passes and runs a 4.2. You have to defend it. You have to defend it. You can't just go like this. Well, he ain't going to do anything. But he's got to be a guy that shows you that he can play and catch and be part of it. Okay? If Watkins puts 40 catches up and 500 yards, he'll have a job in Philadelphia for the next decade. Some defensive guys. James Bradbury. 40 tackles, 4 picks. You better get me at least 4 picks. You're making $16 million, $14 million. Let's go. You can't have a drop-off. Darius Slay. $14 million, 42 tackles, 5 interceptions. You better come in with those. The Eagles have $30 million in those 2 guys. They better play. And they better play like they still are a $30 million duo. Do I think they will? I do not. And do I think Bradbury? No, I don't. I think it's Slay. I don't think Slay has a good year. Slay was not having a good finish to the year. He did not play well. I think he's a problem. I think they should have moved off him. If it were me, instead of Nolan Smith, I may have tried to get that guy, Christian Gonzalez, from Oregon. That was the play. Carter and Gonzalez would have been the play for the Eagles. I think you got an old man playing corner. We'll see. I do not believe that guy has a lot of gas left in the tank. But we'll see. I guarantee you he does not have 42 tackles and 5 picks. I bet you anything he leads the league in plus 25 plays given up this year. Just something that I'm seeing in his game. Linebacker. Nakobe Dean. My expectations. 150 tackles, 2 picks. Surely, a third-round draft choice should have higher expectations than a UDFA and a guy you guys think sucks. Surely you think he's going to duplicate what TJ did. He was an undrafted free agent. No one thought anything of him. He's not the fastest guy. You're telling me what a great mind and how smart he is and how fast he is and what a ball player he was at Georgia. 150 tackles and 2 picks. Is that unreasonable? Don't say it is, because then you shouldn't have moved off of Edwards. Better not say that he can't do that. Because then why'd you move off of Edwards? Shit, he gets 110 tackles. That means he's missed time and he's not productive enough. Bro, 110? You dropped 60 tackles? No way. That ain't good enough, 110. Because that means the guys in front of you are also getting their ass handed to them. Edwards is around 130, 140, 160 the 2 years he started. So you're going to take a dip for what? You're telling me he's better. That guy better come in between 135 and 150. Or it was not an upgrade. It was a downgrade. First year, let me take a look at something. TJ Edwards, stats. So TJ Edwards' first year starting was 130 tackles, 1 INT. Okay, 130. Okay, I'll lower it. 130. Not a chance in hell he hits that. It's not. It's a downgrade. The amazing thing about Edwards is 2022 with 159 tackles and only 60 were assisted. That means he was hawking guys for almost 100 solo tackles. So you're telling me you think Nakobe Dean's going to have 100 solo tackles? Wait a minute. You really believe you think that dude's going to have 100 solo tackles? If you thought that, why didn't you play him last year? There's not a chance he hits 100. Dude, we'll see if he gets 130 tackles. Here's my expectations for Jordan Davis. 50 tackles and 5 sacks. Is that unreasonable? I know last year he had 19, but he was in a rotation. 50 tackles and 5 sacks for Jordan Davis. Is that too much to ask for? I think that's reasonable. Tone, no? That's reasonable. Someone goes like this, he has to be better? What, 60 tackles, 10 sacks? He ain't going to do that. Dude, 5 sacks will be more sacks than he had in the last 6 years in his entire football career. Jalen Carter. Tone goes, that sounds like Quentin Williams' numbers at 21. Here's Jalen Carter. I got 50 tackles and 8 sacks. That may be high. That may be high. Because Fletcher had 6 his first year and didn't play a lot of, well, he played a pretty good percentage, but not like significant. That might be high, but 50 tackles, 8 sacks. Rolling 7 sacks, that sounds okay. In there, 7 to 8. Should put that 7 to 8. Hassan Reddick. 65 tackles. And I put 11 sacks. I mean, dude, 16 was fantastic. Double digit for a 4th straight year is insane great. And I'm giving him the benefit because, get this, you're telling me your bar's 11 sacks a year? Jadeveon Clowney, his entire 10-plus year career, never had double digits. Do not think that that is something that's easy. He's exceptional. Okay? He's exceptional. He's exceptional, dude. He really is. He's exceptional. He's exceptional at what he's doing when it comes to 4 years. So, I think he's great. Only 11 for Hassan. I would ask for 13. Josh Sweat, 50 tackles, 10 sacks. I think he's your best 3-down guy. And Fletcher, 40 tackles and 5. All right, I'm going to take a timeout. Mike Missinelli's going to join us at 4:30 Eastern time. We're going to go through all the things, and I'm going to actually ask him over-under on all these. Hit the like button. Hour number 2.